The morning sun rose over the crowded streets of Ajegunle, a poor area filled with wooden houses and muddy roads. In a small one-room apartment, Ada Maku, a 13-year-old girl with sharp eyes and a kind smile, sat on the floor with her books. Her school uniform was clean but faded, carefully ironed by her mother the night before. Her mother, known as Mama Ada, was already dressed in her cleaner's uniform. She had been working in people's houses for years, trying to give her daughter a better life. Ada, eat something before you leave, oh, Mama Ada said gently, placing a small plate of soaked gari and ground nuts in front of her. Ada smiled. Thank you, Mama. I'll eat fast. You must shine in that school no matter what, her mother added, wiping her sweaty face with her wrapper. You're not like them, but your brain is sharper than gold. Ada nodded. She was used to her mother's motivational talks. They gave her strength. Ada had just gotten into Prestige High School, one of the biggest and most expensive schools in the city. Her scholarship came after she scored the highest in a national exam. The news shocked even the exam board, a poor girl from Ajegunle beating all the children from rich homes. Now, today was her first day in senior secondary school after 2 years of surviving the junior classes, but it hadn't been easy. The school gate was tall, painted gold and black, with security guards standing like soldiers. As Ada walked in holding her old bag tightly, a black jeep zoomed past her and splashed dirty water on her white socks. Sorry, oh, scholarship girl, laughed a boy from inside the car. It was Toby, the school chairman's adopted son, tall, rich, and rude. Ada wiped her socks quietly. She had learned to ignore people like him, but deep inside it hurt. In class, she sat at the front as always. Her books were neat and her eyes focused. The teacher, Mr. Anayo, walked in and greeted everyone. But when he looked at Ada, he said nothing. Some of the girls at the back laughed and whispered. She thinks she's smart because of scholarship, said Sandra, a senior girl with long fake nails and a proud face. She will soon cry again, another girl replied. Ada heard them but said nothing. She had cried enough in JSS 1, 2, and 3. Now she had decided to become stronger. During break time, she quietly brought out her bread and butter wrapped in newspaper, while others bought jollof rice and meat pie from the expensive cafeteria. She sat under a tree, alone, but she didn't mind. In her heart, she had a dream to make her mother proud, to become a doctor, and to lift her family from poverty. She didn't know what the future held, but she was ready to fight through it. Because Ada wasn't just a poor girl, she was a star in the shadows, waiting for her time to shine. The bell rang for the end of the school day, and students rushed out of their classrooms, laughing, shouting, and comparing iPhones. Ada packed her old book slowly into a worn out bag and walked out quietly. On her way to the hostel, she passed the senior block and tried to avoid attention. But as usual, trouble found her. Hey, you, scholarship girl, Sandra, the senior girl from earlier, called out with a smirk. She was standing with her group of friends, all wearing shiny wristwatches and expensive hair extensions. Ada froze. Why didn't you greet your seniors? Eh? Another girl, Chica, added. Or your scholarship didn't teach you manners? Ada bowed slightly. Good afternoon, seniors. Sandra rolled her eyes. Come and kneel down there. We'll teach you how to greet properly. Without arguing, Ada knelt on the grass beside the walkway. Students walked past, some laughing, some ignoring, but none helping. She had gotten used to this kind of embarrassment. At the hostel later that night, Ada opened a locker to find her soap missing and a bedsheet soaked in water. Who did this? She asked softly, looking around. No one answered. Some of the girls laughed. Others just walked past like they didn't see anything. Maybe your poor village spirit came to bathe for you, one girl mocked. Ada said nothing. She sat on the wet bed and blinked back at tears. Her friend Ngozi, another scholarship student, came closer and whispered, They poured water on mine too last week. Don't cry. They just want to break you. Why do they hate us this much? Ada asked. Because we remind them that money can't buy everything, Ngozi replied, squeezing Ada's hand. Days turned into weeks. The bullying became worse. The boys sent Ada to buy snacks even during class. If she refused, they would pour water on her seat or steal her notebooks. Seniors would ask her to sweep the entire hostel alone. Some locked her inside the toilet once for hours. Even the teachers didn't help. Once she went to report that her locker was broken into. Miss Vivian, her English teacher, shook her head and said, Ada, just try and get along with your classmates. You don't want to be a problem student. But ma, that's enough. You don't want your scholarship withdrawn, do you? Ada walked out of the office slowly. Her hands were shaking, her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. She had promised herself she wouldn't cry again. At night, as the hostel lights went off, Ada lay awake on her mattress with only one pillow and a towel for a blanket. From the window, she could see the school's shining lights and expensive buildings. So beautiful on the outside, so bitter on the inside. She whispered a quiet prayer. God, please help me survive this place. And with that, she closed her eyes, hoping for a better tomorrow. The next morning, Ada woke up before everyone else to mop the hostel floor, an order from Sandra the senior. Her hands ached, but she didn't complain. She had learned that speaking up only brought more pain. In class, she answered all her questions correctly as usual. Some students clapped mockingly. Show off, one whispered. She thinks she's better than us, another said. Ada kept her head down. Her success was her only weapon, but also her biggest problem. During lunchtime, Toby, the chairman's adopted son, called her from across the dining hall. Ada, go and buy me a drink, he said, throwing money at her. She hesitated. You want to be stubborn? He snapped. Everyone stared. Ada picked up the money and walked out quietly. Outside, she stood under the sun and sighed. She wasn't a servant, but they treated her like one. That night, while trying to read in the common room, Sandra and her girls walked in. You again, Sandra said. This is our space. Out. Ada packed her book slowly. You deaf? Chika asked, slapping her book to the ground. Still, Ada walked away quietly. She couldn't tell her teachers. They knew and ignored it. She couldn't tell her mother. She didn't want her to worry. So she kept it all inside and suffered in silence. One evening, Ada walked past the back of the school block and saw Ngozi, her only friend, sitting alone and crying. What happened? Ada asked, kneeling beside her. They poured palm oil on my uniform, Ngozi said. I don't even have another one to wear tomorrow. Ada hugged her gently. I'm so sorry. They said if I tell anyone, they'll make it worse. Ada sighed. That's what they always say. Later that week, news spread around the school. Another scholarship girl, Kemi, had taken poison. She didn't survive. The school quickly called it a medical issue. The real story was buried. The students whispered, the staff moved on, and everyone acted like nothing happened. Except Ada. She stood by the school garden where Kemi used to sit and made a silent vow. One day they will hear us. One day this must stop. It was a Friday afternoon. Students rushed to their hostels, laughing and pushing. Ada was walking down the stairs from the library carrying her books. Toby, the chairman's adopted son, stood at the top with his friends, cracking jokes. Move out of the way, scholarship rat, he shouted. Ada tried to pass quietly, but Toby shoved her shoulder roughly. Her foot missed a step. Before anyone could react, she tumbled down the staircase. Thud! Her head hit the floor hard, books scattered. Her body didn't move. Someone screamed. The emergency bell rang. Teachers and students gathered. Panic spread. She's not breathing. Call the nurse. She slipped, Toby said quickly, fear in his voice. It was an accident. The teachers nodded nervously. No one questioned him. They all saw, but they said nothing. Ida was rushed to the hospital, unconscious, bleeding, and silent. At the hospital, Mama Ada sat beside her daughter's bed, holding her hand tightly. Tubes ran into Ada's nose and arms. Machines beeped quietly around her. Tears rolled down Mama Ada's face. My Ada, my only child. She wept. Please wake up. The doctor had delivered the news, brain injury, and Ada had slipped into a coma. Mama Ada remembered how Ada used to smile, how she stayed up late reading by candlelight, how she never complained, no matter what the school did to her. I should have taken you out of that school, she whispered. I wanted you to endure for a better life. But this number. She wiped her tears and made a decision. If you survive this, Ada, you're never going back there again. I don't care about the scholarship. I just want my daughter alive. 3 days after the accident, Chief Dapo, the school chairman, visited the hospital. He came with 2 bodyguards and a bouquet of flowers, dressed in his usual expensive agbada. When he entered the room, he expected to meet just another parent. But the moment Mama Ada looked up, her eyes widened in shock. You, she said, standing slowly. Chief Dapo stopped in his tracks. He looked closely. Ada, from Ikorodu. Yes, I was a housemaid in your parents' home years ago. There was a heavy pause. Both of them remembered the past, a time when power was misused and a young girl's voice was ignored. Chief Dapo lowered his head in shame. I never thought I'd see you again. Mama Ada wiped her eyes. You didn't just forget me. You ruined my life and sent me away with a secret I didn't choose. He looked at the hospital bed. Is she? She's your child, Mama Ada said. She was born after I left your house. Chief Dapo stepped back stunned. His voice trembled. Ada is my daughter? Yes, and now the boy you call your son pushed her down the stairs. Silence filled the room. The reality shook Chief Dapo to his core. The girl he almost lost was his own blood, and the boy who caused it wasn't even his by birth. He sank into the chair, broken. I'm sorry, he said, for everything. I can never change what happened, but I want to do the right thing now. Chief Dapo didn't leave the hospital that night. He stayed sitting beside Ada's bed, watching her breathe through machines. She looked so small, so innocent, and she was his daughter. I failed you, he whispered. I failed your mother too. He remembered how proud his parents were when he got married, how they had adopted Toby after years of trying for a child. Toby was raised like a prince, spoiled, untouchable. And now the boy he raised had hurt the child he never knew he had. The next morning, Chief Dapo called Mama Ada aside. I know I can never undo the pain I caused, he said, but I want to take responsibility for Ada, for her health, for everything. Mama Ada looked at him. She doesn't even know you, and when she wakes up, I don't know if she'll want anything from you. I understand, he replied quietly, but I'll wait. Whatever she decides, I will accept. That day, Chief Dapo called top specialists to care for Ada. He also ordered the school to suspend Toby, though the public wasn't told why. Behind closed doors, the truth was finally being faced. Ada remained in a coma, but Mama Ada stayed by her side every day, praying, singing softly, holding her hand. Chief Dapo also visited daily. He paid the hospital bills, brought specialists, and even arranged counseling for Mama Ada, but she stayed guarded. One afternoon, he brought a new school uniform and books. She'll never wear that again, Mama Ada said firmly. When she wakes up, I'm taking her far from that school. I understand, Chief Dapo said gently, but please, let me at least be a father to her now. Mama Ada looked at him, her heart torn. He was a man who once caused her deep pain, but he was also the father of her child, and now he was trying to change. Later that night, Mama Ada knelt beside the hospital bed. God, if she wakes up, give me the wisdom to do what's right. For her, 3 months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Ada opened her eyes. At first, the light above her felt too bright. Her head hurt. Her body was weak. Mama, she whispered. Mama Ada jumped up, tears falling from her eyes. Ada, you're awake. Thank you, Jesus. Nurses rushed in, followed by doctors. Ada was alive, but confused. What happened to me? She asked faintly. Her mother held her hand gently. You had an accident at school, but you're okay now. You're safe. Days later, when Ada was stronger, Mama Ada told her the full story. She told her about the push, the coma, and the truth about her father. Ada sat in silence for a long time. That man is my father? She asked, stunned. Yes, Mama Ada replied, eyes full of sorrow. I didn't plan it, but that's how it happened. Ada turned her face away. Then, I don't want anything from him. When Chief Dapple came to visit, Ada listened quietly but said nothing. I'm not asking you to call me Dad, he said softly. I just want a chance to care for you. Ada looked at him. Why now? Because you feel guilty? His mouth opened, but no words came. She turned her face to the wall. A month after Ada left the hospital, she returned to Prestige High School, but this time everything was different. The school gate, once a place where she had been mocked and pushed aside, now opened slowly as two security guards bowed and welcomed her in. Even the air felt different. As Ada walked into the assembly ground, all eyes turned to her. Some students whispered in shame. Others looked away. For the first time, the rich students didn't carry themselves with pride. They were quiet, unsure, guilty. Sandra, the senior who once bullied her, stood still. Her makeup was lighter now. Her usual gang wasn't beside her. Toby, the boy who had pushed her down the stairs, stood alone near the school building. His face was pale and his hands were in his pockets. The principal climbed the stage and cleared his throat. Today, he began, we welcome back a young lady who has shown courage, humility, and strength in the face of injustice. There was a soft round of applause. Ada Maku, the principal continued, has made us rethink everything. From today, we are making a change. No more silence, no more bullying, no more pride over people's backgrounds. New rules were introduced that same week. A student welfare team was created. An anonymous complaint box was placed near every hostel and class block. Anti-bullying posters were everywhere. Teachers were warned that silence in the face of abuse would cost them their jobs. For the first time, students like Aida, Ngozi, and others on scholarships began to feel seen. They sat freely in the cafeteria. They studied in peace. They smiled more. Ada didn't talk much, but her presence alone was powerful. Later that week, Sandra approached Ada near the library. Ada, I'm sorry, she said quietly. Ada looked at her but said nothing. Sandra bit her lip. I know sorry isn't enough. I was wicked. I was proud. I hurt you. Ada nodded slowly. Yes, you did. Sandra lowered her head. I forgive you, Ada said after a long pause, but I won't pretend it didn't happen. Sandra looked up in surprise. So, we can't be friends? Ada smiled softly. Forgiveness doesn't mean friendship. I've just outgrown people like you. And with that, she walked away, her shoulders straighter than ever. Meanwhile, Toby had been suspended, but Chief Dapo arranged for him to stay in the school under strict punishment. He now served other students in the dining hall as part of his correction. One day, he stood behind Ada as she picked up a tray. Can I carry that for you? He asked quietly. Ada looked at him with a blank expression. Number, carry your own guilt. She walked away. At night, Ada sometimes sat on her bed, thinking. Everything had changed. The school, the students, even herself. But her name remained the same. She still signed every assignment Ada Maku. She still slept on the same mattress in the same corner of the hostel. But she wasn't the poor girl anymore. She was the girl who changed the school story forever. Weeks after Ada's return to school, Chief Dapo's mother, Mama Dapo, flew in from Abuja. She was now in her late 70s, a step slower, her voice gentler than it once was. She had heard everything: the hospital, the fall, the truth about Ada, and the past mistakes she made as a younger woman. She arrived at the Maku home one hot Saturday afternoon, wearing a simple white iro and buba with her gray hair tied back. Her driver knocked on the door politely. Mama Ada opened the door and froze. "Good afternoon, Ada," Mama Dapo said, bowing slightly. "May I come in?" They sat in silence for a few moments. Then Mama Dapo spoke. "Years ago, when I sent you away, I thought I was protecting our family's name. I never imagined the kind of pain I caused you." Tears began to roll down Mama Ada's cheeks. She had dreamed of this moment, but never thought it would come. "You didn't even ask me what happened," she replied softly. "You believed your son over your maid. You threw me out like trash." "I did," Mama Dapo admitted, nodding slowly. "And I have regretted it every day. If I could go back and fix it, I would." Ada walked into the room quietly and sat beside her mother. She looked at the old woman. "So you're my grandmother?" Mama Dapo turned to her with tears in her eyes. "Yes, my child. I don't deserve to be called that. But if you let me, I'd love to be part of your life." Ada was silent. Later that evening, Chief Dapo arrived, surprised to see his mother already there. "We came here today to say sorry, not just in words, but in action," he said. "We want to right the wrongs of the past." He brought out a document and handed it to Mama Ada. "I've bought a house in your name," he said, "not to buy your silence or loyalty, but to show you that I take responsibility. And for Ada, I've opened a full education trust fund, university, masters, anything she wants." Ada blinked, stunned. "I don't want your money," she said slowly. "I've survived without it all these years." "But you deserve more than survival," Mama Dapo said softly. "You deserve to live, to dream freely." That night, Ada sat outside their old apartment, looking at the stars. Her mother joined her. "Are you okay?" Mama Ada asked. "I don't know," Ada replied. "I'm still angry, but I'm also tired of being angry." Her mother nodded. "Forgiveness doesn't happen in one day, but don't carry bitterness into your future." Ada looked up at the sky. "I'll forgive them," she whispered, "but I'll never forget, and I'll never change my name. I am Ada Mako. That name carried me through the fire." Mama Ada smiled, proud and peaceful. "You are the strongest girl I know." The next week, the entire Mako family moved into their new home, a simple but beautiful three-bedroom bungalow with a small garden where Ada planted a mango tree. Mama Dapo visited often, helping around the house and listening more than she spoke. Chief Dapo kept his distance, respecting Ada's boundaries, but supporting her from afar. It wasn't a perfect family, but it was healing. It was Ada's final year at Prestige High School. She stood on the stage during the school's graduation ceremony, dressed in her spotless white and blue uniform, holding her award, Best Graduating Student in the history of the school. The entire school, students, parents, teachers, rose to give her a standing ovation. The same school that once ignored her pain now celebrated her strength. The principal stepped up to the microphone. "This year, something powerful happened. A young girl reminded us that being brilliant isn't just about test scores, it's about courage, kindness, and truth." He turned to Ada. "Ada Mako, thank you for changing Prestige High School forever." As Ada walked down from the stage, she saw all the faces that once looked down on her, now looking up with respect. Sandra smiled and waved. Ngozi clapped with tears in her eyes. Even Toby bowed his head slightly, too ashamed to speak. Chief Dapo and Mama Dapo sat quietly in the crowd, proud but distant, knowing Ada had chosen her path and her pace. Later that evening, in a new room at home, Ada packed for university, She had received full scholarships to multiple international schools, but chose one close to home, University of Lagos. She didn't want to run from her past. She wanted to grow from it. She sat beside her mother, now stronger, happier, and glowing. Mama, she said, holding her hand, we made it. Mama Ada smiled. No, you made it. You turned pain into power. That night, Ada opened her journal and wrote, I was once a girl who nobody noticed, a girl mocked, used, pushed aside. But I found my voice, and with it, I changed the story, not just mine, but the story of others who suffer in silence. I am Ada Maku. I don't need a rich name to prove my worth. I am enough, and I am just getting started. The story of Ada Maku spread beyond Prestige High. She was invited to speak at schools, on radio shows, and youth conferences. Her voice gave courage to the voiceless, and even though she came from nothing, she became everything.